Ready for a wild ride through the best adventure games ever made? From OG classics to next-gen legends, I'm breaking down the all-time greats that redefine the genre. Get ready to dive into worlds where epic quests, insane puzzles, and crazy storylines will keep you hooked for hours. Strap in, because it's time to talk adventure gaming, GOATs. The action in Dishonored 2 kicks off 15 years after the first game. This time you're playing as two familiar faces, Corvo Attano and Emily Kaldwin. But forget Dunwall, we're in Karnaca now, a warm southern city where the rulers of Serkanos are based. Emily's been ousted from the throne, so she and Corvo are on the run, looking for a way to get her crown back. You start out as Emily in the prologue, but after that you get to pick between her and Corvo. Even though the story doesn't change much based on who you choose, the gameplay does. Each character has their own set of powers, and Corvo finally talks. Keep in mind, you can't switch between them unless you start a new game. A Plague Tale: Innocence is set in France in 1349, right in the middle of the Black Death, one of the deadliest pandemics ever. You follow two main characters, Amicia and her little bro Hugo, who's just 5 years old, trying to survive in this brutal world. The story's all about their bond as they search for their missing mom, dodging the Inquisition and swarms of hungry rats in a ruined, dangerous city. In A Plague Tale: Requiem, we return to medieval Europe, this time after the events of the first game. Amicia, Hugo, and their friends try to start fresh in southern France, but the plague isn't over and the country's still torn by war. Amicia is back on the hunt for someone to help Hugo, facing danger and fighting to survive once again. You play as Talion, a badass scout whose family gets wiped out by one of Sauron's loyal minions. He bites the dust too, but that's not game over. An ancient spirit of vengeance brings him back, giving him wraith powers. Now, Talion's on a mission to Mordor, hunting down everyone involved in the tragedy. Along the way, you uncover the truth about the being that brought you back and dive into the origins of the Lord of the Rings. The game is all about choices, and the decisions you make have major consequences as the story unfolds. Control is a sci-fi third-person action game from Remedy, the devs behind Alan Wake, Quantum Break, and the OG Max Payne games. You play as Jessie Faden, a woman dealing with her past who rolls up to the Federal Bureau of Control in New York. While she's at the HQ, a brutal, otherworldly invasion hits the concrete fortress known as the Oldest House. The director bites the dust during the attack, and through some wild rituals, Jessie steps up as the new boss. Now, it's up to her to clean house and take down the invaders. The story in Resident Evil 4 sticks close to the original. You play as Leon S. Kennedy, an ex-cop from Raccoon City and now a U.S. Secret Service agent. The president sends Leon to track down his kidnapped daughter, and all signs point to a creepy village in Spain. When Leon arrives, he discovers the place is controlled by a cult called Los Illuminados, led by the smooth-talking Osmond Sadler. To make things worse, the locals are infected with Las Plagas parasites, turning them into straight-up monsters. In Stray, you're dropped into a forgotten cyberpunk world where robots now rule instead of humans. The game is set in a walled-off city under a massive concrete dome, and you play as a stray cat who gets separated from its crew. The main goal, escape the city and reunite with your feline buddies. Along the way, you're guided by B-12, a drone that seems to know way more about this dystopia than it's letting on. Stray is an adventure game with some light action, focusing on exploration. You'll move through both linear levels and semi-open areas, interacting with NPCs, collecting items, and doing some side quests. The cat's movement is super fluid, but getting from point A to B isn't always straightforward. Expect to leap across pipes, AC units, and other obstacles. However, don't worry, the jumping happens automatically, so it's not arcade-style platforming. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy takes you on a wild ride through the sci-fi universe we know from the comics. A few years back, the galaxy got wrecked by a massive war, and it's still feeling the aftermath. But things are about to get even worse. After a chain of disastrous events, a new interplanetary crisis is on the rise. As expected, it's up to the Guardians, led by Peter Star-Lord Quill, to handle the chaos. Teaming up with Groot, Gamora, Drax, and Rocket, Star-Lord embarks on an epic adventure full of danger, chaos, and tons of humor. In Uncharted 4: A Thief's End, you're back as the legendary treasure hunter Nathan Drake. It's been 3 years since Drake's deception, and Nate's left the adventurer life behind to chill with Elena. But of course, things don't stay calm for long. His thought-to-be-dead brother shows up, dragging him back into the chaos. This time, you're hunting down pirate Henry Avery's treasure. Expect to run into familiar faces like Sully and deal with fresh competition. Rafe, a total opposite of Nate, and Nadine, who's got her own private army in South Africa. Set after Episode 3, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order drops you into the shoes of Cal Kestis, a young ex-Padawan on the run. The Empire's out to wipe out every Jedi, thanks to Emperor Palpatine's Order 66. Laying low, Cal heads to Bracca, a junkyard planet in the Outer Rim, where he scrapes by dismantling old Clone Wars ships. But the quiet life doesn't last. An Imperial Inquisitor starts hunting him down. Cal's forced to escape again, but this time he's not alone. Along the way, he teams up with Sari, a new mentor, and BD-1, his trusty droid sidekick. The action in Batman Arkham Knight kicks off with a bang, just like a Hitchcock thriller. Scarecrow, one of Batman's OG enemies, drops a fear toxin bomb on Gotham, forcing an evacuation. With the city in chaos, all of Batman's worst enemies take advantage, taking over Gotham and pushing Commissioner Gordon's police force to the brink. The villains, including Penguin, Two-Face, and Harley Quinn, team up to finally take down the Bat. And if that's not enough, there's a new baddie in town, the Arkham Knight. Unlike the earlier Assassin's Creed titles, Odyssey's story is somewhat non-linear. As we fight our way through, our choices impact the plot and its ending. While we can't change the fate of the world, our decisions affect the protagonist's life, like romancing certain characters and those around them. The narrative unfolds through cutscenes and dialogues, with developers introducing a new feature allowing players to pick dialogue options for the first time in the series. The devs went all out to make the game world ultra-realistic and alive, so the characters are super dynamic and react to player actions. While exploring the wastelands, you'll run into wildlife like rodents, birds, and predators such as bears. You can trek on foot or ride one of the horses, which come in various breeds with different attitudes and abilities to handle terrain like wastelands and rivers. Importantly, Morgan can bond with his horse. If he earns the horse's trust, it'll stay chill during shootouts or when facing aggressive wildlife. The patch upgraded textures and character models to be more detailed and in 4K, all while keeping 60 FPS. It added ray tracing for realistic lighting, shadows, and ambient occlusion. There's also a new photo mode, an improved map, a quick sign casting system, and alternate camera views, like from above Geralt's back. Plus, there's a new story quest called In the Eternal Fire's Shadow, rewarding players with a Witcher set inspired by the Netflix series. One of several new armors included in the patch. Some characters, including Dandelion, also got fresh looks. The game takes you back to the familiar island of Manhattan from the original Spider-Man, but this time it's winter. Swing through the city, wall run, and leap across rooftops just like before. It's packed with story missions, side quests, and optional activities. The combat system is top-notch. Miles can throw punches, use advanced gadgets, swing webs, and unleash his unique bioelectric powers. You'll also encounter stealth segments where you need to stay hidden, sneak behind enemies, and silently take them out, plus some epic boss battles. Rift Apart picks up right after Into the Nexus. Our heroes, Ratchet and his robotic buddy Clank, are back in action. During a showdown with their nemesis, Dr. Nefarious, Ratchet accidentally smashes an interdimensional travel device. The blast triggers massive space-time glitches across the universe, merging alternate realities and opening portals to other dimensions. Ratchet and Clank get sucked into one of these portals and land in a dystopian world ruled by Dr. Nefarious. Teaming up with Rivet, a fierce resistance fighter, they set out to topple Nefarious, fix the dimensional rifts, and find their way home. Horizon Zero Dawn is an open-world epic. The game drops you into a massive, diverse landscape with everything from wild terrains to tribal camps and ancient ruins. It's crawling with dangerous mechanical creatures. But don't worry, Aloy's got it covered. She's a beast in combat, wielding futuristic bows, rope throwers, and other high-tech ranged weapons crafted from defeated machines. Even the colossal Thunderjaw, which resembles a T-Rex, doesn't faze her. Kratos is back in the spotlight in God of War. After his epic, rage-fueled rampage through Greece, which saw Olympus crumble and a slew of gods and heroes bite the dust, Kratos seeks solace in the far north. There, he finds new love and starts a family. But when his wife suddenly passes away, he's left alone with his young son, Atreus. Unfortunately, peace is elusive. The Nordic gods know all about Kratos' role in taking down Olympus and are seriously spooked. As a result, the duo is thrust into a perilous journey, battling demonic and mythical beasts along the way. Kratos must confront the fallout of his past actions and the simmering rage in his heart. Things get even trickier as Atreus slowly uncovers his father's dark history, causing his loyalty to waver. The game unfolds in the lands between, a realm split into 6 kingdoms. Each kingdom is ruled by a demigod, and it's up to you to take them down and collect the shards of the Elden Ring. The destruction of this enigmatic artifact caused a massive upheaval, nearly wrecking the lands between. You play as a Tarnished who's come back from exile, aiming to win back the Erdtree's favor, prove your worth, and claim the title of Elden Lord. The story of Fallout 4 kicks off in the suburbs of Boston, just moments before a devastating nuclear attack. In this brief prologue, you meet the hero's family and customize your character, male or female, tweaking their appearance and allocating skill points. The attack hits shortly after, splitting the hero from their family and sending them into Vault 111. The real action begins 2 centuries later, when your character emerges onto the surface, ready to fight for survival in a harsh, post-apocalyptic wasteland. In A Way Out, you team up with Vincent and Leo, 2 convicts who couldn't be more different. Their accidental meeting and shared goal of breaking out of prison set them on a wild ride. Leo, a seasoned criminal who thrives on risk, solves problems with his fists. Vincent, on the other hand, is cautious and avoids conflict, but he's no pushover when cornered. As you work through their escape from prison and dodge the cops, you'll see them evolve from reluctant partners to true allies. Both have personal stakes in their escape. Besides freedom and reuniting with their families, they also want to settle scores with those behind bars. Starfield takes place in the distant future during the era of space colonization. By the year 2310, the settled systems, a small section of the Milky Way, about 50 light years from the solar system, have been rocked by a brutal clash between 2 factions, the United Colonies and the Freestar Collective. The war eventually fizzles out into a shaky truce, leaving the settled systems as a treacherous and perilous zone. The game kicks off 2 decades later. We step into the shoes of a Constellation member, a crew dedicated to charting the Milky Way and unearthing its secrets. As we journey through nearly the entire galaxy, we'll uncover humanity's greatest mystery. Far Cry 3 is a first-person shooter where you're mostly about taking out foes however you see fit. What sets it apart from most FPS games is its level of freedom. The maps are open, so you can go stealthy and take out enemies one by one, or go full Rambo, diving into enemy camps, guns blazing. There's also a simple RPG system where you earn experience points as you progress through the campaign. You can spend these points on new skills divided into 3 paths: the Heron, the Spider, and the Shark. Each path boosts a different combat style and helps make exploring the archipelago a bit easier. In Hogwarts Legacy, you'll dive into a 19th century Hogwarts as a young student, mastering ancient magic. Your epic abilities make you the key player in a chaotic showdown between goblins and dark wizards, all set on wrecking the wizarding world as we know it. The fate of magic hangs in your hands. Set long before the Harry Potter series, you won't bump into most of the familiar faces, but there are still some iconic characters to spot. Gone Home sets itself apart with a unique narrative. Bucking current trends, it ditches the blood-curdling scares and zeroes in on the troubles of a typical American family. Set in the 90s, you play as 21-year-old Katie, who returns home after a year in Europe. To her shock, her mom, dad, and sister are nowhere to be found. Though the game keeps a subtly unsettling vibe, it's night, it's raining, Katie must explore room after room, digging up documents, notes, and recordings. Bit by bit, these reveal the story behind the house and the mystery of what happened to its occupants. Game developers bring a fresh arsenal of weapons, shotguns, sniper rifles, and rad special powers. Just like in the previous installments, you can zap enemies with lightning or toss objects around with telekinesis. The main character now sports a bunch of new abilities, including summoning ravens to stun opponents for a few seconds. Elizabeth isn't just your average girl. She's packing some epic telekinetic skills and can mess with tears in the fabric of reality. This lets her bring in items, gear, vehicles from alternate dimensions to give Booker a hand in battle. In Star Wars Jedi Survivor, you get to dive into the action from a third-person perspective. You'll tackle quests across a bunch of different planets, each packed with enemies to battle. Cal, our protagonist, rocks a lightsaber and can unleash epic combos by chaining together a ton of moves. The move list is massive now. He's also a force powerhouse, using it to boost his combat and exploration skills. Think wall running and extended jumps. As you progress, you'll level up Kestis, unlocking new abilities and enhancing the ones you already have. Plus, you can upgrade Cal's lightsaber to match his growth. At first glance, Until Dawn looks pretty much like the original when it comes to mechanics. However, the devs have added some fresh features, like new camera angles and a third-person perspective for a different view on the action. In the game, you'll swap between different characters, diving into spine-chilling events, engaging in conversations, and making choices that impact how the story unfolds. Since even minor decisions can lead to major consequences, it's crucial to think carefully. If not, you might end up losing some characters or even all of them by the end. The game lets you play through a night where nobody might make it out alive. Wolfenstein II: The New Colossus picks up right where the last game left off. In 1961, B.J. Blazkowicz wakes up from a coma to find himself in a Nazi-occupied United States. With the terror spread by the Germans, led by Frau Engel, Blazkowicz has no choice but to grab his weapons once again and face the enemy. Thankfully, he's got backup from Horton and Grace, leaders of the local resistance. Just like its predecessor, the new Colossus offers an alternate history where the Nazis created Wunderwaffe, a game-changing weapon that helped them win World War II. In Assassin's Creed Valhalla, the first thing you do is customize Ivor's look, tweak their hairstyle, tattoos, war paint, and gear. The game is played from a third-person view. You'll dive into story missions, usually 2 to 3 hours each, and can also go wild with side quests and extra activities. Your choices impact Ivor's future and their clan's fate. You can raid rich areas to boost your influence and gather resources for settlement upgrades. The combat system, revamped for that Viking ferocity, now emphasizes dual-wielding weapons. You can also use Ivor's hidden blade for stealthy takedowns. Upgrade Ivor's skills by enhancing weapons and armor with runes. The gameplay stays true to the original, no new mechanics from The Last of Us Part 2 here. We're still diving into a third-person action game with stealth vibes, split between exploring and fighting. While exploring, you'll scavenge for resources to craft essentials like medkits, molotovs, and stealthy blades for taking out foes from the shadows. Expect environmental puzzles that'll challenge your path forward. In combat, you'll go up against armed humans and the infected. Ammo is super limited, so stealth kills, hand-to-hand action, or just dodging enemies are the way to go. The big upgrade? AI. Unlike the original, enemies in this remake now notice your teammates sneaking around and avoiding their sight. They're way smarter now using advanced tactics. Stay sharp and cautious to survive. Plus, there are new rewards like alternate character skins and a model gallery to unlock. Baldur's Gate 3 picks up roughly 100 years after Throne of Baal, an expansion to Baldur's Gate 2: Shadows of Anne. The game kicks off with a Nautiloid, a freaky Illithid ship, dropping in on Baldur's Gate. Before mysterious dragon riders can chase them off, they wreck a huge chunk of the city and kidnap tons of its people, taking them on their ship for a nasty process called ceramorphosis. This involves infecting victims' brains with mind flayer tadpoles, which then gobble up their brains and morph them into illithids. The plot's way more open than before, with a sprawling narrative packed with over 2 million words, more dialogue than the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy combined. Players will dive into the story through dialogue, notes scattered around, and over 170 hours of cutscenes. There are multiple quest outcomes, each affecting the story in significant ways. That's a wrap, gamers. Whether you're a hardcore adventurer or just diving into the genre, these games are absolute must-plays. If I missed your favorite, drop it in the comments. Let's keep the convo going. Don't forget to smash that like button, sub for more top-tier gaming content, and as always, keep the adventure alive. Peace out.